Topic of this video is graphing transformation techniques, vertical and horizontal reflections. Here's a problem. Write the equation of the function that matches the graph. Okay, let's take a look at the graph. So the first thing I notice is that it is a pair of rays. We've got one ray over here and one ray over here. And we know that most of the problems from this section are related to problems, specifically basic or library functions that were studied in previous videos. So if we can think to ourselves, what other function are we already familiar with that consists of two rays that might be helpful to us? And it's my hope that the first thing you thought of was the absolute value graph. The absolute value graph, whose equation is f of x equals the absolute value of x, and whose graph looks like this, is very similar to the graph that we see here. In fact, the only difference is the absolute value graph is opening up, whereas this is opening down. So one possibility is that the graph we're looking at is the absolute value graph spun around the x-axis, which would make it a vertical reflection. So let's see if we can verify that. If this really is a vertical reflection of the absolute value graph, well, that means that all of the y coordinates should be changed to their opposite. So let's just create a quick table of coordinates that we know to be associated with the absolute value graph. So those would be these x values and these y values. Now let's create a quick table of points based on the graph that was provided to us. So we see that it contains this dot, which is -2, -2. We see that it contains this dot, which is -1, -1. We see that it contains the origin 0, 0. We see that it contains this dot, 1, -1. Notice the x is positive, but the y is negative. And we notice that it contains this dot, 2, -2. All right, this should allow us to draw the conclusion and verify that what we think is correct really is correct. If this really is a reflection over the x-axis, then that means we should observe the pattern that all of the y coordinates have been multiplied by -1, but the x coordinates are the same. So let's verify. -2, -2, these match, these match, these match, and these match. Okay, the x's are the same. Now, have all the y's been multiplied by -1? 2 times -1 is -2, 1 times -1 is -1, 0 times -1 is 0, 1 times -1 is -1, 2 times -1 is -2. Yes, we verified it. This is the absolute value function reflected across the x-axis. So now we just have to write its equation. We know that for a vertical reflection, what you do to the equation is multiply by -1 on the right-hand side. So we would get f of x equals -1 times the absolute value of x, which can be written in simplified form as f of x equals negative absolute value of x. We have now found the equation of this graph that was provided for us.